Well, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of the caliber of disaster.
Hello.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
You're gonna get your mind right.
Warning. Common sense incoming.
Alive. It's alive!
Warning, this contains explicit material suitable for children.
Great heavens! What kind of radio show is this?
This is the Blab.
Well, we're very excited around the studio today because, by golly, the first day of spring is behind us. It was sometime, I think, earlier in the, not this week, maybe the end of last week, since we've been with you the last time. And there are some sure signs that things are starting to get back to normal around here in the U.S. of A. One of those things, of course, is that businesses are starting to reopen slowly but surely. Some of the states are starting to relax the regulations, and they're keeping an eye on the surges just in case. You got schools that are kind of starting to open up a little bit, and then taking a look at that. I actually got caught behind a school bus yesterday, and the day after, and the day before that.
Didn't even know what the hell that was, did you?
And, of course, one sure sign that it's springtime, things are returning to normal. Here in America, there's 10 people dead from some whack job with an AR-15 in a supermarket in Colorado. But just so we get off on the right foot, it's actually an AR-15 style pistol modified with an arm brace, which was used in the shooting. Now, I started when this happened, and I thought, okay, well, we're going to talk about it. So let's just talk about it from the outset for a few minutes.
Sure.
I saw immediately a couple of articles. One of them was a list of the shootings that have taken place, mass shootings that have taken place just this year so far. Mass shootings being defined as anybody
more than three.
Actually more than one, but let's say more than two.
Okay.
But there have been in the last 20 years 8 or 10 just in Colorado. It goes all the way back to Columbine.
Yep.
You got your Aurora Theater with the Batman thing with the guy that opened it up. You got what's going on in there. And then there's a list of all the other mass shootings, including, of course, the Atlanta spa thing last week. And now we're back into a regular groove. But I compiled the list, and as I got like the second thing in there, and I went, you know what? This stuff is hashed to death on talk radio, the cable TV shows. You and I kind of made an unspoken New Year's resolution that we were going to try to not do the same shit that everybody else does because, frankly, it's boring when it's 62 times you're hearing it. So I thought, how do we come at this in the spirit of that? And I said to myself, let me, in my own former talk radio wisdom, offer up, for the sake of the foundation of our little conversation, the quickest, most succinct, comprehensive at the same time wrap up on the whole thing that I think I can offer here. Okay. Yada, 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 bang, bang, dead people, blah, 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 thoughts and prayers, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah.
You forgot a part.
Blah. And
white terrorists.
who he just fucking had to be named Ali Walagaba Bing Bang Ding Dong, okay?
He's a Muslim.
Wouldn't you like to be a Muslim too? Now, I'd like to, before I open it up and turn it over and we do the thing, let me just put a little on the end of that little thing there. America, those of you listening to us, particularly to me right now, here's my advice to you. Get used to it. Learn to live with it. There is not going to be a return to normal. This is the new normal. This is it. Changes that need to be made. There are too many people who are either incapable, unwilling, refusing, adamant against, yada, yada, blah, blah, bang, bang, to change those things or even talk about changing those things. So it's not going to happen, okay? And here's the nutshell bumper sticker, the new Blab bumper sticker. This is America now. This is what it is. This is what we are. And as we joked just there a second ago unintentionally, the shooter was white, and we know he's white. Pop quiz. You know how we knew he was white? Because he's alive. Okay, we can top the Sunday with that little
He's
trick.
Actually not white.
They took him. Well, nevertheless,
he's actually like of Arabic descent.
But
this is what tickled the shit out of me. several celebrities immediately
Well, of course they do.
fired off tweets about the shooter's whiteness and white terrorism, only to find out that he was a Muslim a little bit later.
Oops.
Yeah. What was his name? Ahmad
Rashad.
Alisi.
Yeah.
And
bingo was his
yeah,
name.
dude. Don't these celebrities realize, the ones that are, again, Sarah Silverman, righteousness born, don't they realize that making assumptions based upon the shooter's supposed skin color, that's racism?
You want an answer to that question?
Yeah.
Of course they don't.
Because they're, as you term, they're muggles.
Yeah, there's that. But then I always try, believe it or not, I always try to incorporate a little bit of the, what would I want to say? The fair play, the fairness, in all fairness. Here's what I think happens in these circumstances. I think everybody in their own way, and you're right about the celebrity thing, but others have their own way of doing it. The politicians do it with their thoughts and prayers bullshit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's the emotional, psychological equivalent of busy work. Everybody's frustrated because, in their own way, for their own reasons, that this shit continues to happen.
Right.
They are frustrated that it has become, and I'm not saying it's becoming. Be very clear on this. This is the part where I get ranty. This is the new fucking normal.
Yeah.
Okay? It's wrong. I'm not saying hooray, it's, but it's wrong, but this is it. Okay? It's not going to change because it's not, because there's too much money involved in changing it, and that's where it all boils back down to. But to address your question, it's busy work. They don't know what to do. They have to try to do something. So what do? You jump on the twit and you start talking about white this and that. It's busy work. It's like, well, I spoke out today and I said my thing. It doesn't matter a hoot in hell, but we all do it. I mean, hell, I just did it a minute ago with my little thing. This is it. The difference is that I don't have any. And I made a note for myself when I was making that note. That kind of approach to it, saying, well, what is the... everything in life is in movies for me. There's a scene that just flashed into my brain. Remember Braveheart?
Yes, yeah.
Remember the crazy Irish guy that came to fight with him about halfway through the movie?
I've given it all I can, Captain. No,
yeah.
Scotty?
The one, the Scotsman who just shows up all of a sudden. He's an Irishman, and he's crazy, but he saves Wallace's life. And he hears God, and they just kind of indulge him because he hears God. There's a scene where they're about to go into battle, and the arrows are flying, and they're holding up the shields, and boom, 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 and the arrows are hitting the thing. And I think it's William Wallace. Mel Gibson turns to him and says, "What's your God saying now?" And he says, "He'll protect me. You're fucked, but he'll protect me." This is kind of what we're talking about with this approach to this. Accusations of pessimism, cynicism, etc., come flying my way or people's way in that in John when they start talking in that direction. But you know what? There's always a way to find kindness and goodness and compassion and dignity in the human spirit. But that's not what we're talking about here. These events, these continual events. And to put that, well, gosh darn it, we got to just keep trying. And, that's trying to put a rose petal smell on a festering pile of bullshit. And it's insincere, it's disingenuous, and it's an exercise in futility and frustration. That's not going to work. Ergo, let me repeat it one more time so I don't beat it to death. America, get used to it. This is it. Just pray to God that it's not your fucking family that gets murdered. Or your 25-year-old daughter who's a store manager in a grocery store who gets killed for no better reason than she happens to be there at the wrong time.
Yep, you're right. It does happen.
And my punchline of punchlines was this, summing it up for myself. Until there is some kind of, if this is even possible, a core human values revolution, once again, get used to it.
Right.
How about that? Isn't that a hell of a thing?
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime, though, Scott. So I love.
So we're fooked. Is that what you're saying?
No, you're fooked.
You're fooked. Yeah.
I'm protected.
Yeah.
The celebrities fight racism by being racist. I love that. It's just awesome.
It's busy work. They don't know what else to do. And I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it's that,
Yeah, but I mean, I read 4 or 5 different tweets that were just like, well, another white, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Well, I think some of the things I saw some memes and it was I thought it was fair or it was balanced when they said they showed the last 7 or 8 mass shootings and the last 7 or 8 police killings of other et cetera, and it was 2 panels each, and there was a white guy and a black guy, or a black woman and whatever. And when the person of color was either dead or deader than dead, and the other one was taken into custody, et cetera. It's like the remark I made. This guy's, somebody else had said that earlier as the joke. Well, we know that he's been taken into custody because he's not black. If he was black, they'd be hauling his body off to the morgue.
Right.
That's another issue, but it's an issue that dovetails into what we're talking about with the way things are going.
Yeah, well, part of that might be, and I'm not defending the stance that of the situations that have happened.
Yes, you are, you commie bastard.
But a lot of times when you look at the black perpetrators that had been killed, they were advancing on a police officer. The white people dropped the gun and you know what I mean? I mean, they're not quite as brave as they're not quite as brave as the black perpetrators.
People who are not of color are not only, they're either more courageous or they know shit and they drop the gun quick. I don't know, shoot me.
Yeah, so I tend to think it's that. A little bit of it is that,
All right.
But
if you're just joining us, it's just 2 guys talking. So that's that. We're all fucked as far as the gun thing is concerned. So just enjoy your life and
so you get shot.
That's right. That pretty much. Pretty much. All right, I got a couple of. We're freestyling a little more these days, which is we're having more fun conversationally to do that. And one of the things I made a note of, and I don't want to spend 20 minutes on it, but I just made the point. The border is closed. I understand as much as the border can be closed as those things.
About time.
Biden is going to visit at some point. And just today, about an hour ago, I think I read, he has now charged your favorite vice president with coordinating with Central America to try to put a stop to the flow and do it in a way that doesn't.
So she is going down there. She was laughing about not going down there yesterday. So
yeah,
that's good. That made me feel warm and fuzzy.
Well, the roles here, even in our friendly studio, have flipped because you're going to do it. You're going to do it in a different way because you're a much nicer person than I am. But nothing these people do is going to make you happy. So I understand, and I played the role of everything Donald did sucks for the 4 years. So I'm willing to take my time with it. But in coordination with not that, but the Mexican border, but behavior among human beings and their reaction to it, you're a fan of Florida, and
I love Florida.
You and your lovely visit Miami frequently.
Yes.
What's up with spring break down there this year?
Oddly enough, dude, I got a call from my business partner lives in South Beach.
Okay.
He said Ocean Drive, which is like the main, that's where all the boutique hotels are and the restaurants. He said it looks like Portland down there. And I said, what the hell is going on? And he said, it's all the ghetto people out of Atlanta. The boutique hotels lowered their prices because they needed business. Everyone flocked down there, and all of a sudden, they're rioting in the streets.
Oh, I'm not a one to. If I was casting any aspersions, I'm not casting. It just happens to be taking place in Florida. I'm not saying it's a Floridian failure, but obviously this year's spring break is a little more raucous than previous spring breaks.
Yep.
So do we perceive that to be just a circumstance that's anomalous of the circumstance, or have we finally moved into the final scenes of A Clockwork Orange?
No. I think it's just a circumstance of low prices. A lot of other areas are not open. Everyone flocked down there. I mean, he's literally 5 blocks from Ocean Drive, and he said it is chaotic and he lives on the 14th floor.
Okay,
so he can see it from his balcony, and he said, "Tear gas, it's crazy."
So it's like Mardi Gras without the tits.
So they've closed the bridges. You can't even get into South Beach if you're not a resident now after 5 o'clock. So it's just a mess down there.
Was it a mistake?
Yes.
Do you think to have that? Of course, how do you not have spring break? But was it a mistake to do it?
Yes.
And do you think for a single second that DeSantis would have authorized it to not be done because the dude is a true blue Donald Trump, whatever it takes to make the money, fuck every other consideration kind of guy?
No, I don't think he's that. I mean, he didn't want to he didn't want to destroy his own economy. And the facts prove out that he's a much better governor than the governor of California. But that's, they both fall in the middle. The numbers don't lie.
We'll be right back to random non sequiturs starring Dave.
But no, but he's, would he have regulated it more in hindsight? I'm sure hindsight's 2020. I'm sure he would have, but he still would have had it open. I mean, that's just the nature of him.
Because they canceled Mardi Gras in New Orleans again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's much closer to Atlanta than Miami.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard or you've read that Donald's going to start up his own social media platform.
Yes. Well, he's going to make MySpace great again.
You know what? This is how over the guy I am, and I really am. I've maybe tweeted about him 2 or 3 times since January 6th, and that's like an incredible world record for me. My lightning quick rapier wit, yes, he said rapier. I couldn't come up with a snappy name for his fucking Twitter, whatever it's going to be.
Here's what it is, basically. You can't just come up with a platform in 3 months. It doesn't work that way.
Of course you can if you're Donald Trump.
So, he will buy one that's already existing. That's why we were making all the jokes about MySpace. Everybody left MySpace.
I still have a MySpace.
Yeah, poor Tom's alone over at MySpace, and I'm sure he'd welcome Donald with open arms.
Okay.
So let's make MySpace great again.
Now, seriously, do you perceive for a single second that beyond the novelty factor and the hilarity of all this, that it will survive more than 6 months?
I don't know.
Let me tell you what. Let me answer that question myself and tell you why. And it has to do with an article that I read just very briefly because it crossed my radar, and it was written by a guy that, from what I can glean, wasn't particularly
Political.
Yeah, it was a nonpartisan. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
He said from a business point of view, and he didn't. Well, let me explain it in my way, what I interpreted him. It would be like if you and I came up with an idea for lemon, banana, mango, strawberry, chocolate, asbestos, motor oil, Rocky Road ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
There are 14 people on the planet Earth who would ingest shit like that. We are guaranteed sales of 14 people. At some point, we're going to lose 2 or 3 of those to death, and the rest of them are going to kind of wane away sooner or later. The obvious point being, the market will be limited to the Trump lemmings, and there's not enough of those to sustain the business model for any serious length of time. Once the curiosity factor.
Yeah,
passes.
it would basically be whatever percentage of that 74 million were actually voted for Donald and didn't vote party lines.
Well, okay. I think that's given a lot more credit in terms of numbers, because I think a lot of people.
I didn't say whatever. It could be 1%. I mean, but what I'm saying is,
let's have fun. Let me put you on the spot.
Okay.
Predict. Make a prediction now. If you had to, and you do because I'm asking you to, just for fun now, there won't be any retributions.
Sure.
Okay, let's say that it's killing me. I can't come up with a snappy name for the damn thing. But once it's up and running, once he'll have Lindsey Graham and there's like 5 or 6 people that he'll have forever. But again, that's those 6 people that would eat mango, strawberry, motor oil ice cream. What do you say? A year max? 6 months?
That depends on, again,
I know.
Yeah,
I know. There's a lot of factors you can't come up with now.
What percentage of those people?
For fun, let's play like Davis Kreskin. Just give us a prediction, and then when it finally turns to shit, we'll revert back to this episode, and we'll have you. It's like when Ann Coulter told Bill Maher that Donald Trump was going to be president, and everybody went, ha ha, guffaw, guffaw.
Yeah.
All right, so make it easy on yourself.
You know what? I think it'll last as long as he wants it to be, unless he gets tired. It'll last as long as it will until he's tired of it.
Wow.
So if that
is the most articulate non-answer I think I've ever heard.
If that's a year, it's a year. If it's 2 years, however long he's engaged. If he's not engaged, it'll die.
You need to run for office.
You know what I mean?
You really do. You need to run for office.
No, I'm being
I have
honest.
absolutely no more information about how long it's going to last now than I did when I asked you the question 60 seconds ago. You're like the guy, it's the old joke, standing in front of the judge, and whatever he's done, and the judge looks at the guy and said, well, he goes, looks at the accused, and he said, "Where do you live?" And the guy goes, "Here and there." And the guy says, and the judge says, "What do you do for a living?" And the judge goes, "This and that." And the judge says, "Well, you know what? I'm sending you to jail." And the guy says, "When am I going to get out?" And the judge says, "Sooner or later."
Now, I'm just telling you, as long as he stays engaged, those who follow him will be engaged.
All right. Dave refuses to commit to a specific calendar period of time.
Yes.
Let's make that the headline.
Yeah. So how long do you think it'll last?
I think that the novelty will wear off very quickly. And I think that he is, even though I'm loath to want him to continue breathing, and my own spidey sense of these things, and a lot of it actually is based in the same cynicism that was rooted in me not liking the guy in the first place and the admonitions that I do a lot of the time. People's attention spans are incredibly short.
Yes, they are.
They always have been.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, but in this case, and there are a noted number of people now who, once again, seem to be fairly scholarly and reasonably academic and nonpartisan, who are kind of predicting that not only with this thing that we're talking about specifically, but that he's not going to run in 24.
No, I said that. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that you'd commit to, but he wouldn't. He's old news now, and sooner or later, something or someone, 4 years, a long time. God knows, even longer when the last 4 years went by. So I think this is this is the new Kanye thing. Only it's Donald. Yeah. Because if nothing else, sheer marketability says, who's going to give a shit? Beyond. Now, here's my X factor in that scenario. The media that treats everything that comes out of this guy's mouth or ass like chum thrown in the ocean for the fish, they could keep it alive 6 months to a year and a half to hell, 2 years to infinity and beyond, just by drawing attention to it.
Right.
Because he's a grandstander, and that's a match made in heaven. He grandstands some idiot tweet, the media jumps on it, it has a shelf life of 24 or 48 hours, and then we turn around until he does it the next time. And the one thing this guy's able to do, and keep in mind when I give him credit, which is by way of not congratulating him, but acknowledging that he deserves credit, much like I give credit to Ernst Stavro Blofeld for being a master criminal, but I don't admire the guy, is that the one thing Donald Trump does well, exceptionally well, is manipulate media. And so there's an X
we
factor.
discussed this before. He knows how to win a news cycle. He knows how to win a 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, if you stand up and wave your dick, then that's, you know what it is? It's that thing where and that was in the news this week, a couple of places. He's not on social platforms, but he issues these statements, and it's okay. He said, giving credit, because he has to give credit to himself. It's like oxygen for normal people. How he said, if I'm not there, the news ratings are going to tank. They're all going to go, and now CNN has dropped like 40%. And Fox News is Fox News too. All of them have taken a hit. My wry observation on that, when it was announced that he said all that, I said, well, here's my daily SEP metaphor. When the broken sewer pipe that is spewing shit everywhere gets patched up, the onlookers have a tendency to go, okay, and walk away. That's why people are not watching the news,
right?
Because there's
and then you'll have the CNN and MSNBC they're reluctant to really report on Biden. They really are. You know what I mean? And that's
so be it.
I mean, it was just like Fox News
He's
was
old.
reluctant. Well, they
don't want to kill the guy.
It's crazy. But like this border disaster, and it's a disaster.
Well, you know more than I do.
According to immigration, February, they had more than 100,000 apprehensions. That's nearly double any month in 2020. Who was in charge.
I'm not questioning or quibbling with your assessment of the fact that there's something going on. I only take hair-splitting note of the word disaster, okay? This is one of those things where I go, no, okay. It's about choosing. As a matter of fact,
okay,
and I don't mean to divert away from what you're saying, but I wanted to make this because I thought it was really very articulate. Going back to our gun thing for a minute.
Sure.
Seth Meyers did a thing, and I don't watch the late night shows anymore. Haven't for a long time. I catch clips the next day if something is newsworthy. And they all jumped on it that night. Colbert ranted horrifically about this idiot senator from Louisiana who was doing some kind of bullshit, which was just, he called him stupid, and he is a stupid jerk, but that's a whole different story. But Seth Meyers did a very short, very eloquent piece, and what he said was, here's what I would like to have happen, if nothing else, if I had my wish. He goes, I think it's time that we ask the media or demand that media stop using certain words when describing these killings. And it wasn't even a written piece, and if it was, he was reading it so conversationally that it came off like it was spontaneous. He said, how many times since this happened, just this one, forget all the rest of them, have we heard this word this week? Unimaginable, the unimaginable horror. He goes, stop calling it unimaginable. He said, when something happens 3 to 5 times a week, it's not unimaginable.
Right.
Stop calling them shooters. He said, it makes it sound like there's some kind of sports enthusiast. Call them killers. Call them murderers. Call them psychotic. Fucking, and he didn't say fucking because he's on network television. Words count. Words matter.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a disaster. So
that's the view from the right.
That's the view from from reality.
From the right. Okay.
The thing that kills me about 10 years ago, the border wasn't an issue. I mean, Obama, Clinton, Pelosi, even fucking Schumer. They're
in your dick.
Yeah. They're talking about border security, and now it's like, come on in, and that's everybody's coming. Words matter. We discussed that 2 episodes ago. Mm-hmm. Your president, I love saying that. Right. Your president,
enjoy it. It's going to be there a long, long time.
Basically said, hey, come on, and they were listening. They watch CNN too down there, man. Come on. Well, CNN in Espanol.
They
watch CNN.
I've told you a billion times how much I hate exaggerating. My problem with all of that, any of that in that subject, and I'm not picking on immigration per se. I'm just saying It's like I'm from the, even before I realized that I was born to be cynical, when I was a younger man and still had some aspirations that positivity would eventually take over my life. That ain't fucking happening. But I was always the kind of guy that said, you know what, my approach to life philosophically really is underneath it all. It's what I call East German judge style. Okay? I hear the worst of what I hear and I ignore it. I hear the best of what I hear and I ignore it. And I kind of tend to fall somewhere in the middle of it. Okay? There's a problem with people coming into this country.
Right.
The level of which, and we can hair split all goddamn day long about which word describes it best, blah, blah, blah. But in my East German judge style, it's not as bad as it's being portrayed by those who are running around screaming, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Nor is it as la-di-da as those who are saying, oh, well, it's just a thing and we're working on it, everything's cool. How many times have we had conversations or discussions bordering on arguments where we always tend to get back to agreeing that life exists in the middle?
It does as it
Well, this is one of those situations, okay? And it can be a little bit more than or a little bit less than. But
if the middle's a disaster.
But I think it distracts. I think it distracts from being able to be effective to get things done because we all get pulled into this, I know you are, but what am I? I know it's bad, but what is it kind of shit. It's like, okay, who fucking cares? Just fix it. All right? Send somebody. I'm happy to see that he's put Kamala down there, and he wants to take that, and she's going to go down there and take a look at it. And I don't think for a single second, I really honestly don't have any doubt that she's going to go after doing it in a way that approaches it from the left side, which is how do we do this with compassion? How do we do this with consideration? How do we do this with dignity? We're not going to slam doors in people's faces. We're not going to treat people like shit. Okay, there's the danger that and it was the great political philosopher Ricky Nelson who put it best when he said you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself. I like that. I like that approach. I don't care it's Kamala. I don't care it's Joe. I don't care if Fran fucking Drescher was the president of the United States and that's the approach. If that makes me the libtard snowflake, so be it. That's the way it goes.
Right.
I think it's incredibly naive. And I think I even wrote on this week in something else. It was Boebert, that twerp from Colorado, and Taylor Green or Tyler Moore or whatever
Taylor
the hell
Swift.
her name is. Yeah, doing this thing, the absolute slam the door, just slam the door. You can't slam the door because there's no door to slam. It doesn't work that way. You've got to figure out intelligent, mature, comprehensive ways to deal with these things.
You do, but what the left fails to understand and fails to realize, Scott, is every time they advocate for naturalizing illegal immigrants, they're spitting on the people that are trying to get in this country legally. Don't you see that?
Not the way you just described it, no.
When they want to naturalize people in the country that are already here illegally,
Okay.
there are people waiting in line that are filling out paperwork.
So
that are doing the things.
your objection is basically to line jumpers.
Yes.
That's what you're describing.
Well, anybody that's crossing the border right now is a line jumper.
I'm not disputing.
We caught 100,000 line jumpers in February.
I'm not disputing what constitutes a line jumper. I'm saying your problem, as I understand it, I'm asking you this because I want to understand what you're saying, is that your problem is that you object to the line jumpers.
Yes, I do.
People should be nice and stand in line.
They should go through the proper channels.
Okay.
To
tomato.
become a citizen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what? All right, but just for
Go
fun,
ahead.
and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to bait you.
Sure,
I'm honestly,
sure.
we're honestly having. I don't know. This is rare. We should write the date down. We're having an intelligent conversation. I understand that point of view, and instinctively, initially, I'm inclined to say, yeah, because I hate line jumpers.
right.
In principle, it's rude if nothing else.
Right.
And don't be rude. But let's be practical. If there are people here for whatever the reasons are, and I'm a fan of case by case. I'm one of those spirit of the law kind of guys
Right.
in all laws because we're humans. Mm-hmm. Well, they're all
Somewhat.
humans. I'm from Venus or wherever.
My anus.
How could I ever have left that paradise if that was true?
It's a Garden of Eden.
My point, without belaboring it for an hour, is those that are here. Okay, so what do you want to do? You want to pack them up, ship them out, so that they can turn around and get back in the line? Is that basically what you're advocating?
If they're here illegally, yes.
Okay.
And not heartless, because
I don't see the practicality of spending the resources, energy, money, et cetera, that the federal government would have to spend in order to do that.
Right.
That seems like, and just forget the politics. This is a cold calculated, I'm looking at it as if I was an efficiency expert, and I'm saying, yeah, it sucks they did that, but here they are. Why should we spend X number of dollars to pack them up and send them back?
Don't put them on buses and put them in hotels. Fuck that.
Well,
basically,
my point remains the same.
What the left is doing right now, being compassionate is creating misery for the kids that are in cages, for the people that are in the detention centers.
All right,
because they're overrun.
All right, sum it up for me. What do you want to do? You're now the head of the organization that takes care of that shit. What do you want to do? What's your first couple of, and I know you weren't prepared to come with a full manifesto here, but what do you do? What do you want to do?
Well, basically, you stop busing them into our country. You turn them away at the border, make them file the appropriate paperwork to get into this country, go through the legal process to become a citizen, or to get a green card, or to whatever it is, a work visa, whatever it is.
I like that
you are seeking. You know what I mean?
I think that's affordable. The ta-da-da-da part.
But you know what I'm saying? Whatever they are seeking, whether it be, and if they're seeking asylum, not all 100,000 of them, not the human traffickers, and the entire separating of the children from the adults, that basically their DNAs don't match. Those are generally either human traffickers, or no good comes from that. That's like a golf course after midnight. No good comes from that. You know what I mean?
Or a third marriage.
Or a third or fourth, fifth marriage. But
I beg your pardon.
Well, I mean fourth, I'm sorry. But that's the problem that I see, because the kids in cages, the separation policies that Trump was doing, Obama created, and they were good. They were good policies. They weren't bad policies.
At this point, I'm not defending. I'm only, because I'm listening and I'm processing, and I'm, we're walking.
And I'm not saying Trump's idea was the best either.
This is where I invoke the 62-day or whatever the hell it is rule.
Okay.
It's clear there's motion. It's clear there are organizations being organized. It's clear there is motion in this thing. He's taking Harris and putting her and saying, go do this, get it done, blah, 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 pieces, etc. Would I like to see it taken care of? You betcha. Do I believe for a single second that that's going to happen or is even possible in a world full of muggles?
No.
Absolutely not. Whatever it was we were talking about last week in a totally different subject, and you said something to me along the effects of talk to me in 6 months and we'll see.
Right.
Okay. I invoke that here.
Okay.
I'm not cheered or yeah.
Right.
But I'm like, all right.
No, that makes sense.
But I'm not seeing indifference. I'm not seeing, and I don't have the slightest bit of interest, patience, or inclination to even give any consideration to the Chicken Little bullshit of,
Well, let me
they're
ask
coming in here hundreds of thousands in a big roll and they're
Let me ask you this one question. No. Why are we here? Why did it get this way?
Why are we here where?
With the problem on the border.
Because it hasn't been taken care of effectively, efficiently, thoroughly, comprehensively by anybody yet. And now it's Joe's turn by circumstance. And trust me when I tell you.
But why did the problem double after the election? I'm just asking. I'm not trying to create.
You obviously, I don't know that answer, but you obviously have one you're killing yourself to avoid saying out loud. So help yourself. What is the answer? Who is it you need to blame?
Biden, because he said we're opening the borders. Okay. He said it.
All right. So there's
words matter.
Okay. Nice dovetail. Yeah, let's talk some more. All right, let's take a break from being intellectually stimulated. I came across this. I thought you would enjoy this. This is a list of things that have been invented just in the past 12 months, and I haven't seen or actually enjoyed any of these, but I thought you might hear about it.
Vaccines.
Yeah, vaccines. No, this is the kind of stuff where when I first started reading the article, I thought it was some kind of Onion-type parody satire, but it wasn't. It was actual things. For example, Slugbot. You know what a Slugbot is? I didn't either.
No.
It's a robotic device that looks like a slug, with the slime and the shell and all that, except you put it in your garden and it runs through the garden and it finds real slugs and it digests them and manufactures within its own little mechanism the organic material necessary to keep functioning. So it functions on slugs.
What the fuck?
It's a slug remover. So if you got slugs in your garden, just get Slugbot. And if you order now, the Lola, just pay an extra fee, you could get two. A lot of this is going to end up...
Slugs. What if slugs are just divorced snails?
And what if God was one of us?
I said to that meme, didn't I?
Yes. I'm just sharing with invention.
I lost the house.
Somebody got funding for this stuff. Milk clothing. Clothing made out of milk. Apparently, the protein can be extracted. Mm-hmm. It turns into strands, which turns into fabric. But it takes 6 liters of milk to make one dress. So RuPaul is in.
Right. Well, I saw something about hardened plastic out of milk too. I mean, apparently they're doing a lot of shit.
Well,
with
milk may be the future. I like this one. Selfie. No, I don't. I'm being sarcastic. Selfie toaster. You remember the Big Bang when Sheldon made the toast that had Darth Vader on one side?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's apparently, or the Transformers, whatever that was. Apparently, there is a selfie toaster you can purchase, which you can do a device with a metal plate or something, and you basically can have toast pop up that has your face on it.
So let me get this straight. So basically, you would take your iPhone or your Android. You would
depending on whether you're a libtard. Yeah, okay.
You would send your picture to your toaster, and then it would put your face on your toast.
Yeah, the device that I understand, I didn't spend a lot of time getting the details here, but from what I gleaned, it was a separate, like a plate. Remember how the old big box cameras used to work, where the photographer would take the thing and slide it in? Okay. You take some device like that and slide it down into the toaster, and then make your toast, and boom, your selfie comes up. I got really nothing in the way of a punchline, and so much of this is really starting to sound like. But The only thing I could think of was, there were drunken mornings when I woke up and I just felt so bad that I wanted to eat my own face, but I didn't want to have a selfie toaster. So. You'll like this one. This is a Dave one. Bikini or bikinis made out of salmon skin. They recycle and refurb, and they do it with salmon skin. Now,
That's interesting.
The only twisted thought I have was, see, I'm a critical thinker.
Yeah.
I mentioned this to my wife earlier in the week. She said something. She used the word malcontent, not in my direction, but in general. And I said, Dave and I were having that conversation not long ago, and he called me a malcontent. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm aware of the way I present myself. I'm a dissatisfaction enthusiast. I have critical thinking skills, and they come in handy. They give me that. They tar me with that brush of being a negative, gloomy Gus guy. But I'll tell you what, it helps, and this is why I do it. I do it because it's instinctive, but here's where it serves. Set a plan for something in front of me. I'm immediately going to go to see what's wrong with it. Right. Now, positive glass half full people would immediately go, oh, you're always looking for... Well, there's a practical approach to this. The good shit takes care of itself. Mm-hmm. You got somebody who goes, oh, there's a hole there. You need to patch that or it's going to rip the whole fucking thing apart. See, there's your critical thinking skills. Well, here's what I thought when I heard bikini made of salmon skin. Yeah. When you're in the ocean, the first thing you want to be
is a salmon.
As far as the sharks are concerned. All right. Air-powered pogo stick. Somebody actually got funding for an air-powered pogo stick, which apparently eliminates the big spring and the boing, and it's air-powered like a hydraulic.
Doesn't even sound safe.
Well,
not even
safety's not
even a
this
little
is,
bit.
Remember
safe.
Dan Aykroyd's old Irwin Mainway with the bag of glass and all those toys? All I thought of was, though, the air-powered pogo stick would be a heck of a gift to give to your neighbor if his kids won't stay in their own damn yard. You just, boing, they're gone, man, like on the next block. Ostrich pillow. And no, it's not a pillow with ostrich feathers. Apparently, I don't know what they're called, those big baggy blankety things where you can put your arms in them and your legs and your head, and you can sit and be all kind of cuddled up.
Snuggles.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
These things look like a pillow, but not. And you put your hands in it, and there's a big hole, and you stick your head in it, and then you lay down on the desk to keep warm, or the pillow if you're face down.
It makes darkness, so you can sleep in darkness.
Well,
like
the way the hype is described is that so that the wearer can put their head into a fluffy hole, which popped into my brain, something you and I have been aspiring to do since high school.
I did that every weekend when I played in the band.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Lord.
All right, BitBite. This is for dieters. It's an earpiece, little earplug goes in that will tell you with a nice voice or programmable voice when you've had enough to eat.
Hey, fat ass, stop chewing.
Now, the idea of a voice in your ear telling you what to do is not new. It occurs to me. I've had several. They used to be called mothers-in-law. We're doing early rim shots here. These are actual invented things. Drop wipes. That's the brand name. They are sanitary wipes specifically formulated for bird droppings on the exterior of your car, which is a problem in springtime, and that shit can be nasty. No pun intended.
Let me tell you a little story. We got Julie a new car, and it's a black, beautiful black, shiny.
Yes.
Well, over the last week,
those who can't see where the story is going need to just go on to some other program now.
A bird has been perching on her on her side view mirror and shitting down the side of her car every day. So she's out there cleaning up. So I'm going to have to get some drop wipes for her.
Now, it says the exterior of the car. The manufacturer says if you've got droppings on the interior of your car, you got bigger problems than we can solve. So
yes.
And this one's also for Dave. This is a true thing, and you may have already experienced this. I don't know. It's called the Euro Club, and I don't mean like the dollar amount, EURO, from Europe. This is Euro Club, spelled URO. It is, according to the hype that I read, a hollow golf club that you can discreetly pee into if you're out on the course and you're not close to an outhouse or to a...
No, I did not know that. I've never heard of that. And
it's got a little cloth, like, golf towel that sort of drapes in your front so that you can just stick the club under there. And I thought that was a practical idea. Then I went on to read that apparently there's a similar club that you can use for taking a dump, but it requires a shoving you probably don't want to do.
I know what I'm getting Scott for Christmas.
Oh, we're talking. All right.
I just got random shit from here on out. What do you got?
I just got random shit from here on out.
Well, that's what we're doing. We're just two guys talking.
I did see that you see where Ford's pulling out of a $900 million commitment in Avon Lake, Ohio, to make their next generation cars there.
And why is that?
They just said they're pulling out and going to Mexico. I don't know if it's tax related. I have no clue. But they
sure hope the border's open.
in 2019. Yeah, well, we should close the border, not let them leave. See, forward thinking.
You know, I told you how now how long ago? I didn't pay attention when we got started here, but I'm just thinking to myself, I meant it. You need to run for office. These are brilliant, cutting edge.
But no,
leadership ideas.
They didn't specifically. They just said they reneged on a 2019 promise to put $900 million.
A major corporation fucking people over and saying, "Yeah,
go figure."
What were the odds of that happening?
Go figure.
Well, there's your perfect coin. Two sides of the coin. You've got the fair play type people like yourself, which basically, by the way, doesn't totally go with your GOP profile. Okay, you can't be both. You can't be.
I am both.
Well, yeah, he goes both ways, folks.
I'm a perplexing individual
because and too much pepper in my paprika. All right, and a totally unrelated. Well, let's talk about this item money wise. In the COVID relief bill, the Rescue America, and you got your money.
Yes, I did.
I got my money too.
I'm a happy camper.
I did. I went out and spent it on very important things. Like, what the hell did I buy? I've already forgotten.
Man wipes, or what was that? What were those wipes?
Drop wipes.
Drop wipes.
Not a very good name. I wish they would. I'm good at names and that kind of stuff with brand names and parody names and things, but they never call me.
Yeah, that's weird. I like man wipes.
Yeah, that gets into a whole gender identification issue thing. Oh, look, somebody just knocked into the wind chimes.
Yeah, Julie just got home.
Okay. Oh, I got it. There you go.
That's my ring.
That's what bird shit sounds like when it's hitting the door?
Yes, when it gets in the driveway.
All right. In the bill, here's a shocking thing for those of you that don't know how our government works. Apparently, the Democrats put a lot of stuff in the rescue package.
Get out of here, Scott.
They did. The Republicans were up in arms. They were absolutely furious, obscenely incensed, and demanding that they get an opportunity to shove their shit into the next bill because it's fair play. But Biden's plan program, a couple of things they tacked on. They tacked on $135 million for the National Endowment of the Arts, and they tagged on $175 million for PBS. And I say, and I'll tell you why. Art is important.
Art is important.
These things are important. And that kind of money, and I know that the lesser sophisticated, the lesser knowledgeable, in other words, would get all up in arms about it. He owes me $2,000.
Well, that was a Democrat, Scott.
But yeah. The point being, well, sure, but it was still your guy. You were talking about the story.
Yeah.
This is not. I know it sounds silly to say so, but numbers are relative. In the great scheme of a national treasury, $175 million is chump change.
Yeah.
And good for them. They
I
provide wonderful programming, educational, informational, and there's not a fucking Mama June or Love After Lockup or who is this TJ Madison? Have you seen this thing that's coming?
No.
She's a huge black woman, and I'm not saying that to be rude. I mean huge wherever it's possible to be huge. She's huge. She makes what's her name? Not Lipso Dipso. Lizzo. She makes Lizzo look like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Well, now I understand. My wife tells me, and I talk about down the rabbit hole, that my wife knows this and I don't. She told me. Apparently, this person is a transgender. He's a man.
Oh, wow.
But you got to see the commercials. They're on WeTV.
Maybe he'll be the next Secretary of Health.
And welfare. WeTV, if you're not familiar with that particular channel, it's pretty popular. They tend to run all Law and Order episodes pretty much all the time.
Is that women's entertainment? What does we stand for?
Oh, it's not women's. It's like weekly entertainment or we. something. No, it has nothing to do with women. It's only one E anyway. We collectively, not we like pee-pee.
Okay.
Yeah, he said pee-pee. But they're the ones that run Law and Order like all the time, with the exception of when they're not running Law and Order. And when they're not running Law and Order, they're running Love After Lockup, Mama June, From Not to Hot to Snot.
My 600-pound whatever.
Yeah. And I've finally determined what it is it's total balancing and programming, but it's really kind of spiritual penance. What they're doing is they're all these wonderful high moral story Law and Order episodes, one after another, to kind of make up for the fact that they're shoveling all this trash, black trash, white trash, pink trash, crap trash at you the rest of the time. But anyway, $175 million for PBS, the endowment. What it means is the arts are back, baby.
I thought that was, I didn't mind that being shoved into the COVID bill. The things that bothered me were the hundreds of billions of dollars that went to California, New York, cities or states that grossly mismanaged their economy for years, and now they're bought out. Mm-hmm. They're brought back. Nancy Pelosi's state. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
Make a COVID bill. I slide the arts in there. I'm one always for the arts, but make the COVID bill about the people, about the Americans.
You know what I mean? I'm not keeping exact track, but between the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, and this thing just now, say at 2 minutes a pop, that's about 11 minutes of this program that you have begun to convince people that you really need to run for office. I'm just telling you. Let's face it, dude. The golf thing is fine, but at some point you need much more challenge than that. Second of all,
I wouldn't pass a background
Second
check.
of all, oh fuck that. There's no background checking anymore. Come on. Donald Trump was president of the United States, for God's sake. All the bets are off. Sooner or later, the Drummond thing is going to have to scale back because you're not getting any younger.
Drummond shoulders are going to go out.
Drummond shoulders are going to go out once and for all. You'd be a fine candidate. You make sense. You couldn't win shit right now because that's totally out of fashion. But who knows? A year, 2 years, maybe on a ticket. You as vice president, Pete Buttigieg is the presidential candidate. There would be no fucking stopping you.
There you go.
And I would like to be secretary.
Hand jobs across America.
I would like to be a secretary
of pessimism.
No. Secretary of Dissatisfaction.
There you go.
Somebody's got to do
but no, those are the things that bother me.
Oh, well, you know what?
Did that bother you too? How all these?
I was just about to tell you.
Tell me, Scott.
Of course they bother me. They bother any reasonable person who's trying to look at a situation and hoping against hope that things will be done in a kind, compassionate, and yet fair, reasonable, intelligent manner. But there's just one problem with that line of thinking.
It's America.
And there it is.
I loved AOC.
Because you know as well as I do, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You know what the difference is between a Democrat and a Republican? Seriously?
What?
At the core of it, at any given time, one's in power and the other isn't. That's it.
That's true. They're both parties are bought and paid for
and
by
bought and bought.
Bought and paid for.
And if you're going to run for office, you're going to need to work on it.
I can't. But
next thing you know, you'll be tripping up the stairs.
AOC had a great point when she said these stimulus, the amount of money in that relief bill that goes to bullshit, we could have had 6 months of relief payments, a monthly check for every American. And we should have had something like that because our economy was shut down, destroyed, collapsed. What other word can I use? It was just mangled. And it's not anyone's fault. It's it was the virus's fault. But $1,400 here, $600 there.
I know the reason it frustrates you is because it's wrong, and the reason that it frustrates you more is because it's unnecessary. But here's a hidden reason you're frustrated. I'm sharing my wisdom with you at this advanced stage of my life. It's because you still believe that you still kind of believe in Jimmy Stewart, and there is no Jimmy Stewart. There may have been at one time or another, but there isn't anymore.
Right.
We toss these phrases around like the government's bought and paid for, and we say it in the heat of a discussion, or we say it and legitimately mean it. We don't mean that we're not telling the truth as we see the truth, but what we don't understand, or at least we don't get our heads around, is we don't realize the extent of, the depth of, the texture of, the intensity of, the comprehensiveness of what it is we're saying. It's not only, yeah, that's right, it's fucking A, and that's it. Well, hooray for us for being astute and being able to figure it out. But you got to break it down at some point. These things, it's like that we've dovetailed now. It's the gun thing. Let's come back to that, and we're almost done.
We're doing a lot of dovetailing lately.
Well, we do that because we speak in circular, and it's logic, and logic becomes circular, and these things are amenable. And I got a thesaurus the other day. And I'm reading it. You heard me say it at the outset of this episode. I said I crapped right on the Hallmark card of everybody who's saying that, maybe this will finally be the killing that will make those people. Fuck no, it's not going to happen. Why? Because you can't stop greed, you can't stop selfishness, you can't stop avarice, you can't stop sloth, you can't stop. Those who engage in it have to stop, or they have to be leveraged in a certain way that makes them stop.
Right.
And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
No.
Core values, human values, it's always been, and here's the tricky part, and this gets a little deep for people who aren't all that bright. Let me just spell it out that way. That has always been a part of life because that's a part of being on a planet full of muggles. Human beings are selfish and they're greedy. They're kind, loving, compassionate, yada, yada, run the list. That's true, but they're also selfish and greedy and manipulating and all the other things. It's good and bad, yin and yang, yada and blah.
Right.
But there was always kind of a 51-49, 52-48, even 50.1, 49.9 thing going on in our civilization, if you want to call it that, in this country. And the higher number belonging to those who had those values, or the amount of values that those people had in their system, the good versus the bad.
Right.
We've long ago, and certainly in the last 5 years, we're looking at that fucking number in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, we've tipped. The scale is tipped.
And the problem is, once you give people that sugar, they can't just,
And you and I discussed this a million times. I think term limits are the answer, but you can't get to term limits because they have to vote themselves out of it.
And there it is.
You know what I mean? So it's...
There it is.
Yeah.
Let's do rim shots. This is not to be confused with the earlier rim shots when we were talking about the invention.
And let's dedicate this round of rim shots to Mike DeLucia, my buddy that passed away. He loved the Badacha.
Badacha. All right,
and Mike passed away a couple weeks ago.
Well, Mike may be listening on that celestial plane that is on. And besides, if there's one program that I think would be broadcast on the big PA address system in the sky,
yes,
because it's chock full of heavenly wit, it would be this one.
Yes.
Mike, these are for you, buddy.
These are for you, Mike.
Krispy Kreme is offering free donuts to people who get vaccinated.
He said cream.
That's right. I don't have that shit on here anymore because we're doing different things.
What?
Well, it's technology. I'm limited by it. Anyway, they're giving out free donuts to people. You got to bring your vaccination card. And you have to have been vaccinated. So Republicans might still die of COVID, but Democrats are going to have to learn to live with diabetes.
Let me ask you a question. Do you get a half a donut when you just had the first shot?
No, it's one donut. And as I read the original news release, it said something like you can get a donut a day for as long as I must have misread that or it was badly written because it sounded like you could, once you got your vaccinations, you could get a donut a day for each day the promotion lasts, whether you've already gotten a donut before or not.
Wow.
I thought, no, just when you go the first time, you show them your card, you get a donut. You get vaccinated the second time, you show them your card, you get a donut.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
The problem, I don't know that that's the deal. The problem with these kinds of promotions is, and trust me, I've been in the music business and the radio business and the songwriting business all my life, which means I've done a lot of retail. And the problem with retail promotions is they're invented by morons in offices who don't have to deal with the public. coming in to take advantage of those things and be told,
No, it doesn't mean you get a donut every time you walk in the fucking door.
And the other thing is when they have the advertisement and they explain it, at the end they're like, and this
and for an additional fee, you can have a second donut. I went to the doctor this past week for a follow-up appointment, and I'll just tell you, it's a urologist, and they do good work and blah, blah, and I'm old, so shut up. And the way they check in, when you walk in, it's a fairly sizable waiting room, and you walk up to the counter, and there's like 3 ladies there and one to check you in, but it's an L that goes down a hallway, and on the other side, when you walk around, there's 3 more ladies sitting at computers, and they're the outgoing. So you got check in, check out, which is very efficient, very effective. But when you come out of the offices, the actual exam rooms, and you're headed up and you see the 3 checkout computer ladies, they're sitting at their desk and the monitors are up there. On the back of each of the monitors, in a big yellow, big block print, black letters, it says, and you're given papers by the doctor, here's your stuff, go to the checkout, and you see it. It's very plainly marked, and there's a sign in big block letters that says, please hold your papers, take a seat, we'll call your name. Each of them has one. Now, I always endear myself to the people in these offices, first of all, because I'm just a fun guy.
You're lovable, Scott.
But second of all, because I know how hard they work, and I know very few people have an understanding of that at any intellectual level, and I do. Plus, it's endearing. It gets me shit. If I get a better appointment, it's because I'm the guy. So I laser on these things. So this time, it was the girl that called me up was somebody I had not spoken with before. So I walk up, and she says, hello, how are you? I said, fine, how are you? And I handed her my papers, and she's typing away and looking down, and she didn't look up at me. And I said, let me ask you something. I said, these are really well-written signs. Well done. Good marking. And she kind of glanced up and goes, thank you. And I said, but let me ask you something. I said, as clearly marked as these are, how many times a day do you get people walking up to you after they've been in the exam room and go, do I give these to you? And she looked up at me with this, my God, where have you been all my life? And she said, every damn day, at least 10 people can. I said, see, there you go. So nice work, Krispy Kreme, but you people should go into the offices and get it done. All right, so extra rim shot. This one I caught from Fallon because it just made me chuckle. Trump is, as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, he's creating his own social media platform. If it goes according to plan, it will be the first thing that he's helped go viral since COVID. Prince Harry has taken a position. Oh, this is also from either Fallon or Colbert. I don't remember where I copped it. Prince Harry has taken a position as an executive at a Silicon Valley startup called Better Up. I don't know what they do. His title will be Chief Impact Officer, but he'll also go by the Impact Officer formerly known as Prince. That's pretty good.
That one was pretty good.
There you go. And this one's for Dave. A Florida woman, speaking of Florida, we dovetail again. A Florida woman has been arrested. She was in a McDonald's drive-thru. She was clearly inebriated and slumping, and they went to get her out of the car. They found 7 mini bottles. I couldn't say. I knew I'd not get through it. 7 mini bottles of vodka in her brassiere.
Nice.
She faces multiple charges and over 7,000 hits on her dating site. She's a woman after my own woman. Let's do parting shots. And somehow parting shots isn't funny this week. But
seen anything good on the tube, Scott?
Nothing that I recall momentarily, but no. What do you got?
I watched the recut of Justice League, all 4 hours of it.
You know what? I did, and that's why it didn't register. I watched I lasted as long as I could.
I stayed through the entire 4 hours. It was a little more epic than the original cut. I wasn't fond of the original cut. 4
hours is just...
It's a long time.
I mean, and I'm a guy that... I'm not that guy. I'm not the one that has to have my movies in 27-minute increments. I just... Enough was it. And I will tell you one problem that I have with the... all the superhero shit. The Marvel guys do it too, but the DC ones especially. And Wonder Woman, dear God... You know, J.J. Abrams used to get criticism from for his Star Trek movies because he's a big fan of the when I say light flash, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If you've seen the behind the scenes things, it's those scenes and you don't even realize it until somebody calls your attention to it. But when he's making the movie, he has a guy, one of his photographer technicians, standing to the side of the camera, reflecting this light that causes a light to kind of wave across the scene. And it's kind of a flashing effect without being a flashing effect. And it's really kind of cool, but he uses it a lot.
Yeah.
I had that feeling, and I've read other people say the same thing. The slow-mo during the fight scenes, especially with Wonder Woman and always with the rope and the thing and the do and the da, it's like, wow, what a cool effect that is. And wow, what a cool effect that is. And we just move along, please.
And the flash, too, when they slow-mo the flash.
Yeah, and especially in a 4-hour movie. You don't want to be slowing down a 4-hour movie.
No.
But
I mean, there were like subtle differences that I found really neat. Like it was like his Steppenwolf's outfit was like alive.
Yeah.
In that one, and it wasn't in the original, which I
do good work.
I thought that was pretty cool.
It's amazing. I remember I had it on out in the big room, and my wife sat down to do something else, and she looked up and she said, "What are you watching?" I said, "Justice League." And the CGI was, incredible.
Oh, yeah, always.
And I laughed and I said, I'm this is how old I am. I said, I remember how impressed I was as a little kid watching George Reeves laying on what was clearly a piece of wood with his hands and feet extended out like he was flying and the fan off camera blowing his cape. And you could tell he was lying on a board because they had shoved it up under his Superman shirt, and it's kind of stuck up at the top of the shirt.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the backdrop was a film of the clouds going by.
Yeah.
This was high tech in 1957
Yes,
or
it was.
58, and now these whole things are different.
But no,
it's good work.
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
Well, check it out. Dave gives it how many?
Three thumbs up.
3 thumbs up. He's been living near a nuclear reactor. And I only mentioned this as my little two things. One thing cool, one thing not so much. I started to put this into the whole show, but this is going to take a big chunk, and I didn't want to give it short shift. So I've got it. I'm making this semi-advertisement promotional pledge. Next week I will read this to you all, and we will talk about it. I'll give you this much of the backstory tease. Sean Lynn is the state representative here in Delaware. He's a friend of mine. He's a friend of Dave's.
Yeah.
And not just because he's politically connected. We know him and blah, blah.
I played his wedding.
There you go. And my wife used to work with him, and it's, we all know each other. We're on good terms, and everything's great. Sean's been, for a guy in a political position, he's been pretty outspoken in the last year or so, especially about the situation with Trump and the insurrection and all the things that went down. But not at length, just little standing up and saying the right thing. And for my money, he's been reasonable and he's been articulate. For the most part. He's been critical. Well, we all go our way. When he went off the rails
with that Black Lives Matter artwork downtown. But other than that, he's fine.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion and their perspective as long as Dave approves. So here's the thing. Apparently, to no one's great surprise, there's been some problems. And he posted a lengthy, almost an essay this week. It's very articulate. It's very disturbing. And yet, for my money, somehow not surprising, and that's unfortunate. And I don't mean to go out here on a big gloom and doom thing, except to say that I think we should talk about it. Yeah. It's fairly lengthy, so I'd have to read the whole thing, and it would take 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes to do that, and then we talk about it. But we'll do that next week. I'll put that up front and center, or maybe right after we get the big news out of the way.
Sure.
So, now, on a lighter note, just because it was my generation, kind of, sort of, it was 60 years ago this past week that Ricky Nelson went into the recording studio and recorded Hello, Mary Lou, Goodbye Heart. 60 years of Ricky Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, do I feel old?
I still remember when he went to a garden party.
Yeah, that was in the 70s.
Yeah.
But he was, 60 years would be 1961. Yeah, how about that? I did that in my head. Anyway, but here's my fun thing with this. This is where we get to play a game that I like to play on the show as we get ready to go. I call it, Dave's going to tell me that he knows, and he's going to say who, and then I'm going to tell him what the answer is because he's going to say he doesn't know, and then as soon as I say the answer, he's going to go, yeah, I knew that, but then it's kind of a fun little thing that we do. Ricky Nelson.
Yes.
Hello, Mary Lou, Goodbye Heart.
Yes.
He recorded it. it's been recorded by other people through the years. Who wrote it? First of all, you have to say, "Oh, I know who that is."
Carl Perkins?
No.
Oh, well.
But like I said, as soon as I tell you, you're going to say, because this is Dave's thing. I love him. He's my brother. He's my brother. And he's going to say, oh, yeah, wait, I knew that. Okay. So here it goes. Gene Pitney.
I didn't know that.
Oh.
I really did not. I did not know that.
He did.
See, when I tell you I knew that, I did know that. But that time I didn't know that.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to change the segment theme. Now it's time to play Dave's favorite game. I knew that this time, but I didn't know that last time. Yeah, Gene Pitney. So just for the fun of it, if you don't know the work, it's Ricky Nelson. If you don't know Gene Pitney, listen to him. It's cool stuff.
Didn't she do some stuff with the Underground Railroad? Jane Pittman?
Jane.
Jane. Give me a banana on that. Come on, man.
Let me do my Ted Cassidy impression for you as we go. Not quite deep enough.
Who died last night? George
Siegel.
Siegel, yes.
Of complications from surgery, heart surgery. He was 87, though, so there was that. He was great. For those of you who don't know his name off the top, tons of stuff, but you would know him best as the grandfather on the Goldbergs.
And Just Shoot Me. He was on Just Shoot Me, too.
That goes back a generation. The kids these days would know him as Pops from the Goldbergs.
He was great. He was really great.
Life well lived, buddy. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I got nothing else.
All right, well, good show. Way to go. We'll be back next week with more of The Blab.
Yes, hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart.
The Blab.